Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you to the Wealthy Place Church, where we believe the spiritual and practical will come together to help you find your wealthy place in God. Our foundation scripture, Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but Thou broughtest us out into a wealthy place. Psalms 66:12. Now, let's go right into the service.
This is Dr. J. Calvin Tibbs welcoming you to the Wealthy Place Church. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're observing, I want to say thank you, and I hope you say the same thing to Dr. H. Michael Chitwood. What a blessed honor to be here. There was a time, according to the scripture, that they rolled over our heads, but God has brought us into a wealthy place, and that's where you are. So I'm going to talk to you about the fact that you're in this wealthy place. The reality of that place is that there is a changing landscape that's happening. It's going on as we speak. No matter what your particular situation is in your house, don't be concerned. The landscape is changing. So I want to talk to you about a couple of things that I believe are going to really benefit you, because a lot of this was actually spoken about, or if you will, anticipated or prophesied by the business world long before now. Can the business people actually prophesy? You better believe it. Because the gifts of prophecy and the gifts of healing that occur and anything that goes on can actually be transferred from God to the person with or without their relationship with God, which means for you who have a relationship, how much more should you be moving ahead in the midst of a changing landscape? So way back in 2017, only 3 short years ago, Mark Zuckerberg met with and spoke to the Harvard business graduating class. And what he said was, in about 3 to 5 years, there will be a dismantling of the nation's economy as we see it. And this was the specific quote that he said. Millions of jobs are going to be lost. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions. And you know what he said they would be lost to? Robotics. Correct. Artificial intelligence. Remember that Will Smith movie, I Am Robot? Well, guess what the robots are doing? They are changing the landscape of America because there's a global shift that's happening. Don't want to get there. That's for a later time. But the reality is, if let's just look at 300 million people in America today, the globe is about 8 billion, but in America, about 300 million. 10% of 300 million is 30 million. So let's just say that 30 million jobs are lost in America due to artificial intelligence, also known as the things that are happening in the technology world. My first question to you is, I know you have a relationship with God. What kind of a relationship do you have with yourself and the Lord concerning this changing landscape? Because I tell you, a prayer life is going to be great as long as it goes with skills. See, we got to get some skills. That's what's going on. We're not here just to get saved and launched. Otherwise, when salvation occurred, we'd all get born again, die, and go to heaven. Isn't it interesting? We are still here. If we're here and the landscape is changing, what's our purpose? What are we here for? What are we supposed to be doing? We surely shouldn't just sit there and watch it all go by, pray and wonder, cry, do the best you can to squeak out a living. That's not God's best. In fact, it's not even God's least. He called you into far more than what might be being lived at this very moment. And the reason why perhaps we're not connecting with the fact that the world is changing and they know it is because maybe we don't know what our purpose is. Maybe we are actually suffering from a deficit in our purpose, also known as purpose deficit disorder. Now, I know you may not have heard of PDD before. There are a bunch of names out there for a lot of different things going on, but PDD is absolutely a disease of the soul. It's resting right inside of all of us who love God, all of those who don't love God. It doesn't matter. If you don't know your purpose, you are suffering from a purpose deficit. That, my friends, is a disorder. It's such a disorder that if we don't connect with our purpose, we're going to have some difficult times when the landscape changes. Now, when Zuckerberg made that statement, his point along that line continued, and he said essentially that companies are going to have more of an attention and focus on meaning. He said there has to be a meaning associated with work or the workforce, because think about it. If 300 or 30 million jobs are lost, then you got a bunch of folks who are going to hold on to their jobs even if they hate it. Why? Because at least I have income. 30 million jobs lost, not due to COVID, although COVID might be a good way to introduce this. Not trying to introduce any conspiracy theories, just trying to let you know the changing landscape is here. And so here's the first point I want you to know, that the landscape of jobs, because it is changing, is requiring of us an awareness, like Zuckerberg said, of our meaning, of our purpose. And you know where that's found, right? Romans 8:28. And we know, what do we know? We know that all things are working together. 30 million jobs? How is that possible? Let's finish the verse. We know that all things are working together for the good. For who? For those who love the Lord, for those who are called in accordance with his purpose. Now, there's an interesting thing there I don't have a lot of time to go into, but I'll tell you this. That word purpose there is translated showbread, or the bread of the presence. Okay, all things are working together in a changing landscape. When the landscape of jobs is changing for the good, for those who have some bread, well, this is what it means. The showbread is positioned inside of a place where the priesthood did their work. That's your prayer life. So there's some place in your life that there ought to be substantive, for real conversation between you and God, because the bread on the table was literally set across from the light or the menorah of God, and they were triangulated, if you will, to where the prayer box was, the altar of incense. So here's the point. 12 loaves of bread were on the table across from God. Your life, your brothers, your family, your friends, all of us are across from God at the table. Now, what are you sitting on the table doing? Your purpose. But if you don't know your purpose, you are sitting on the table in a PDD condition. PDD is the purpose deficit that many people have because they don't know why they're just there, why they're sitting there. Why are they in this group? Why are they not in another group? What's God doing over here? If he knows what's happening to us, why doesn't he do something? Because he gave you such a purpose that is so strong, it is not only able to overcome the disorder, it's able to overcome the changing landscape in America today. Now, check this out. Here are 3 quick problems, and I'm going to give you 3 quick solutions. And these are kind of like what Dr. Chitwood would do, because I'm telling you, if you listen to him, your life's going to change on multiple levels. If you don't listen to him, you're going to have some challenges. Check this out. He is the authority as the coach on finances. He's the authority. And you know what? Authority and influence is under attack. That's the first problem to your purpose. The first problem to your purpose is that authority and influence is under attack. If it's under attack, that means that you got to fight to keep the influence and the authority that you have. But if the jobs are lost and your meaning is lost, no wonder people are not going to know what to do. They're not going to know where to go to find work or what to do to find, here you go, a job, when God did not create us just to give us a job. And if we think that's all we're here for, we are suffering from a disease in the soul called purpose deficit disorder. All things work together. Let's say that verse again. To those who love the Lord, to those who are called in accordance with his purpose, what he has put you in the world to do. And you got to do it. And you got to do it well. You got to understand your authority. Your authority always yields some type of influence. We've got to know, you've got to know that as a man, as a woman, and there are only 2 genders, by the way, whether you're a male or a female, you have been given authority, and it's all in your body. It's all in your body. I'm going to hit them real quick, but right now, I just want you to know that there's a problem with helping people understand that your body is already telling you the place where your authority resides. Wherever your authority is, that's where your influence is. And that's exactly what, new term, the coalition is attacking. I'm going to talk about the coalition some more in a minute. The coalition wants control of your mind. because it needs you to go along with the changing landscape where you are, if you will, the blades of grass that get cut. You are the trees that get pruned. I'm trying to put something, a tool in your hands so that you can move beyond the trap of the coalition. Number two, there is a competition for content placement. Content placement is information that comes into us. And if you are the average person like we are, over 2,000 advertising parts occur in your brain, our brain, every single day. 2,000 pieces of advertising, I'm going to call it content, every single day for the Christian, for you, because the world is competing for the authority and the influence, and they are competing for control of the placement of their content. You know, Jesus said it like this: all this in the world, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. So what he's saying is that the content is designed to create a longing for what we see, for what's deep inside of us, and the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, so we can brag about some things perhaps, or feel really good or protected or insulated from the world because we own something. The reality of what the Lord is trying to tell us is that there is a competition for the content placement. The kingdom wants to put content inside of us. The world, I'm calling it the coalition, wants to also put content inside of us. We got to know with our authority, the influence that we have in the midst of a changing landscape, that we literally have the power to know which content is best for us. Because listen, if you don't know which content is winning, then you're probably not getting the content that wins. I'll say that again. If you don't know which content is winning, you are probably getting the content that does not win. Why? Because they are constantly on our phones. They're on television, at the movie theater. This little thing right here, I'm telling you, it is a billboard. It is a computer. It is anything that can be transferred by content, which is the third point. Technology is going to be used. It is used to deliver the coalition's content, which is designed to exploit the weaknesses in your purpose. I will say it again because I heard you say that again. I'm saying it again. Technology, this phone right here, and the method by which you're listening to this, is used by the coalition to deliver the content which is designed to exploit the weaknesses in your purpose. What are the weaknesses in your purpose? What are the weaknesses in your bread? What is the weakness in where you have been placed across from God? You know what that is? You want me to tell you? Because time is moving, I'm going to tell you right now. It's 3 alphabets. Correct. The first one begins with P. The second one begins with D. The third one begins with D. It's purpose, deficit, disorder. If you don't know, if you can't answer 3 big purpose questions, the first one is, why am I here? The second one is, what am I supposed to do? And the third one is, can I get some help from the one that made me? And the answer is yes to number 3. But I want to deal with number 1 because I say again, technology is used to deliver Egypt's, or what I'll call the coalition's content, which is designed to exploit the weaknesses, which include people not knowing what they're here for. So the very technology that's taking over nearly 30 million jobs at some point, and it's already happening, because you know what I found out just the other day about COVID? 40% of the jobs aren't coming back. So if 40% of the jobs in America are not coming back, you already have your 30 million jobs lost. There is a changing landscape in America. The job market is changing, and we've got to recognize what we should be doing with our authority, where we have influence, and understand that there is a competition that we've got to win, where the kingdom's information is greater than the content that comes from the coalition. And you got to understand that if you have one of these, you might as well have your business on one of these. Because if you do not get between where money is and where money is going, even with a prayer life, you may struggle because the landscape is changing. So check this out. Let's deal for a minute here with the reality that technology is being used for this exploitation. Now, what is it really trying to exploit? Because in the end, why are you the prize? Well, you're the prize because of your authority. The darkness doesn't want you to have it, because if you do, you'll use it against him. The darkness does not want you to use your influence. Why? Because if you use your influence against him, then he can't take your life. He can't control you, which is what this is really all about. So let's talk about some solutions here for just a minute, because you got to have some answers if you got a problem. But let me make sure I encourage you with this. Dr. Miles Monroe made it very clear that wherever there's a promised land, there are giants. It's just how it works. I know, I just wish we could just get to Christmas without having to work through the shopping and the making of money and all that. But you can't get to this till you get to that. Every promise that ever has been told to you has some problems. It just does. So now, having gone through the problems, let's talk about some solutions. So let's deal with number one here. Number one is that if you're a man, you are the cornerstone of purpose. If I'm talking to a male, you are the cornerstone of purpose. If I'm talking to a female, you are the incubators of purpose. All right. So now we're dealing with how to look at your body to decode it for what it is you're here for in the midst of a changing landscape. So if you're a man, once again, men are the cornerstones of purpose. How do you know that? Well, because Adam was here first. Why? Because a part of his role is to guide, guard, and govern. It's part of his DNA. Every male is supposed to guard, guide, and govern a household. Now, if that's the case, then your purpose is found in what you're guarding, who you're guiding, and what influence you're bringing. Guard, guide, and govern. Who are you governing? The first government is you. You got to govern you. And I know you're out there, my brothers, and I love you. Many of us know more about what we want to occur than what is happening. It's like, where are the football games and where are the basketball games? Who cares if we don't know where your purpose is? Who cares? Who cares that all this other stuff is going on if we're not governing what he gave us? He didn't govern us to be the statistician for LeBron James and whatever football team you may or may not like. He put us here to guard, guide, and govern individuals that he brings into our lives, starting with, if you're married, your spouse, continuing if you're married with your children. And if you're not married with children, you start with yourself and then you become your brother's keeper, because he brings people into the keep for your purpose to guard, guide, and govern. I want to get to the ladies for a second, because I'm going to tell you, ladies incubate what guys should be planting. If there is no seed, she won't incubate. She won't nurture. So there are some brothers out there, some men. I'm not talking about color brothers. Well, we're all one color, multiple shades. I don't know if you knew that, but we are one color, multiple shades. So if I'm talking to you and you have a wife, you got to recognize that if you're not planting her seed, she's not incubating a thing. So you wonder why she's not happy or she's frustrated or always spending, because she has nothing to nurture. You must plant seed. That's a part of your purpose. That's how you break purpose deficit disorder. Because I'm going to tell you, one way the lust of the eyes, that the purpose of the coalition works, is that it puts things out in the appeal that you're supposed to respond to like it's right. Why is it right? Please don't get me wrong. I like different colors that go in houses. I watch HGTV with my wife and the whole 9 yards. But I will sit there sometimes and I'm like, why is gray in now? And then 4 months ago, why was gray out? I know they extend it to about a year because they want to make as much money as they can. And then later on, you know what? You got gray. I know you don't have no gray in your house. It's blue. Blue's the new gray. Really? So then we run to Home Depot, we run to Lowe's. No, forget all of that stuff. Why do they have to tell us what to do? I'll tell you why. Because they know their purpose. And anytime they can exploit, or better yet, exploit, there it is. If they can exploit anything, it's a person that doesn't know their purpose. And so PDD kicks in and all of a sudden your wallet comes out and then you just buying away, making sure you're up to date with what the coalition says. Well, who is the coalition? Well, it's the credit card companies, first of all, because if you don't have a credit card, because cash is being, moved out, they have issues. So not only do you need a credit card, but you got to have a merchant, because the merchant is the place where you make the purchases from, right? Well, we're not done yet. You got to be able to see this. You got to be able to see this, right? How are you going to see it if you don't have a media, third part of the coalition? So between the credit card companies, between the media, the merchants, and the banks, the coalition works to exploit growth potential, your purpose. And if they can do it well, you'll be happy as long as you are doing what they say the culture is responding to. It's a crazy deal. Why are there so many concerns about likes? Well, if you got a business, that's why. But if you really have a problem, you're not having likes on Facebook or a following on any form of social media can actually cause some challenges to some folks because they don't know their purpose, which means they're suffering from the deficit. So the point is, a woman can't incubate a seed that has not been sown. And I tell you, I was just listening to a man of God, Dr. James Payne, who showed us the seed, the size, not even of your fingernail, almost just the size of just the edge of this pin here. And he said, you know what this is? This is a 240-foot, 35-foot round sequoia. See, that's what women do. They take something small and they brood over it. They incubate it. That's their purpose. It's in their body. It's below the waist. See, some of our purpose is below the waist. But if we don't understand above the waist how to think, then when the changing landscape of jobs in America hits, folks will be displaced because they have not understood their place and their purpose. So let's take a look at this other component here, because this is going to really sort of bring you around to this. Now, I don't have a lot of time to go over all of it, but I'll give you at least this much. In order to get free from, be moved beyond the diagnosis of PDD because of this changing landscape that's in America, you've got to understand where the hints are that you can depend upon to accomplish your purpose, because you've been called in accordance with a purpose. So check it out. There are 8 items. I want you to think about it. You're looking at it. Well, you're looking at 6 of them. My head, your head, is a real easy clue for what your purpose should involve. Your eyes, your nose, your ears, and your mouth. So I just gave you 5 hints. I'm going to come and talk about them just in a minute. And then you have, on top of that, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose. And when you look at the head crown, this is very interesting, the head crown. The head is where the thinking comes in. It's where the bowing comes in. It's the seat of your soul. And if your soul does not understand the purpose of your eyes, it will look all over the place except for where it should be looking for its purpose. If your ears are not connected to purpose, you'll listen to things that have nothing to do with you, and you'll find yourself being pulled along by the purpose of the explorer, the coalition. If you're not careful, your nose, which is where your attitude is, you'll be smelling everything that's going on in everybody's business but yours. Because the discernment inside of the nose is the capacity for you to smell out whether or not this is a good idea for you. See, your mouth, the fourth component of this, is what you speak. What's happening in your words? Are you correcting your course, or are you creating disaster? See, that just depends on how you're moving or how you're using your mouth. So if you put together your ears, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, let's look at your hands next. Your hands have a set of fingerprints like no other in the entire universe. So no matter what goes on with this changing landscape, your fingerprints ought to be placed in places where purpose is being fulfilled in you. If not, the coalition will use technology to exploit your purpose by getting you to reach for things that don't even belong on your table. The final 2 areas, okay, so we have these 5. Again, the ears, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the head, the hands. I've given you 6 of them. And then the sexual organs. On TV or the religious broadcast, number 1 is not religious. This is kingdom stuff. This is what happens when you come to the Wealthy Place Church. You get the truth. You have a sexual organ, my brother and my sister. You do. You know why? Because he wants you to walk in your design. Once again, men should be planting seed, not all over town, but in the place where your purpose is. Women incubate with their sexual organ. You know what they should be incubating? Not seed from everywhere, seed from somewhere that fits your incubation design potential. Isn't it good to know that you're not responsible for everybody, but only for somebody, and even more specifically, some seed? Because check it. Some relationships, and this isn't sexual in this context. It is if you're married, but generally speaking, if you have a sexual organ that is a male, you're a giver. If you have a sexual organ, you're a female, don't you turn off. Don't you turn off. Don't you turn off, because we're talking about the body that you have. You have a body, and your body is supposed to be functioning spiritually as well as naturally. And I am saying, if you are a woman, you incubate what God is interested in putting in your belly. See, this is great. Now, listen, please know this, ladies, real quick, because I just heard this in my heart. When the baby grows up, stop incubating. Start coaching, teaching, training, mentoring. Don't treat that grown boy man like he's a boy. You are messing with his potential. See, if you treat him like he was in the developmental stage, then you'll never see him through to completion, because one, you're depending on him receiving from you. Come on, son, get up, go get a job. See, all that stuff, if you've done your job, he's now in position to do his. Because again, he was called to your belly in accordance with purpose. So I'll just say this real quick. If you're still praying, you're right. But if you're covering, I know we're supposed to, deal with this process of looking out for one another. Please recognize that when the Lord is finished with the training that should have been done back in a certain phase, you may as well move on to the next phase. Otherwise, you're out of purpose, and then you get pulled out of purpose. That's why Jesus, when he was in the pool of Bethesda, he didn't heal everybody. It's a very powerful principle. There were sick, lame, blind, and halt. And if you read the verse, it says a multitude of sick people. When you heard that same term about those who were being fed the fish and the loaves of bread, thousands. So if you're talking about thousands of hurting people, why wouldn't Jesus just go from person to person, laying hands, speaking words? I'll tell you why. Because all of them were in purpose deficit disorder, and none of them wanted to come out. Well, how do you know that? Because he only healed one person, and he's the healer. So if the healer is there, wonder why the man that did take up his bed and walk, why didn't the blind person who now has accentuated hearing recognize something happened? And why didn't he call out to say, come here? Because he had purpose deficit disorder. You know what he thought his purpose was? Only to wait for the water to stir by the angel. And then even this man said to Jesus, I don't have any help. If you can give me some help, I can get to the water. Jesus' question wasn't about, do you need help getting to the water? He said, do you want to walk? But a guy in PDD said, I don't have anybody to get me to the water. Every time I try, and I've been here many, many years, somebody beats me to the water. Jesus didn't talk about water. He didn't say anything about water. He didn't talk about aspirins. He didn't talk about the space shuttle. Jesus talked about, what do you want? See, people who know their purpose know what they want, because what they want fits their purpose. People who don't know what they want are suffering from a disease in the soul in the midst of a changing landscape called purpose deficit disorder. Finally, the guy woke up and said, after Jesus said, do you want to walk? The man said, yes. He said, then get up. Are you kidding me? Is that easy? So it is with these 8 anatomical hints. It's that easy for you to start looking at the things that support your purpose, reaching for the things that support your purpose, listening to what helps develop your purpose, sniffing out the attitude that best supports your purpose, speaking what lines up with course correction and narrative protection, which then takes me to your feet. The final of these 8 anatomical hints to get you out of PDD and into the full design that belongs to you, because there is a design that belongs to you. So check this out. Where are your feet taking you on a daily basis? Not physically even, but where is your whole mind going? Where is your thinking? Where is your body going because of your feet? If it's not bringing you peace, you're in trouble. And I'm going to finally conclude with this. You really want some peace? Start serving. Another way to serve is to give. You have an opportunity to give every day in your life. And I'm going to give you a moment to give even now, because purpose deficit disorder indicates that a person does not recognize that their body is designed to give value to the generation you are assigned to. So listen, you got a church named Wealthy Place Church. That ought to tell you what's going on here. Not poverty. It's not Poverty Place Church. It's Wealthy Place Church. You know why? Because the King lives here. If you want to give, you can check this number out, 1-800-854-5891. Once again, call 1-800-854-5894. And someone will come on the line and bless you to help you be a blessing. If you want to give, go to wealthyplacechurch.org. It's a fantastic place to give. Why? Because of the seed. See, the coalition has seed that leads to them benefiting, but the kingdom has seed that blesses the citizen, because the king has everything. He owns it all. He owns you. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and he owns those ideas that are inside of your mind. If this is your church home, 1/10 of your earnings come here, and you want to be here. You want to be right here where you can give. If this is not your church home, but you see the value that you received today and every week that you listen, then you want to go to wealthyplacechurch.org, and you want to give a seed that moves in the direction of your purpose. I hope this helped you out, because we're talking about the changing landscape, and you're in it, and I'm in it. And we got to know something that the world doesn't know, and use something that the world uses. They understand the exchange of value. They give value with the product. You pay for it. You're happy. They're happy. We have seed. When we sow it, it takes care of all of our need. So I'm excited that you were able to join us today. And I'm fully thankful to Dr. Chitwood for the opportunity to be here with you again at the Wealthy Place Church. We were there at the inaugural service, and we're super excited to continue to partner with you, because you are flat out powerful. And may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, lift up the light of his countenance on you, and give you his shalom. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us. Go to wealthyplacechurch.org to give your tithe and sow your seed.